The little girl stood barefoot in the rain, holding a plastic grocery bag with everything she owned. A thin sweater covered her shoulders, but it was soaked through. Her hair stuck to her face as she stared at the black car parked outside the old house. Inside that car sat a quiet man who had an idea that the next 10 minutes would change his life. His name was Daniel Carter. To the outside world, Daniel was known as the founder and CEO of Carter Industries, a company worth hundreds of millions of dollars. He had offices in 3 cities, a large house, and employees who handled almost every part of his life. But at home, Daniel was simply a tired father trying to raise 2 children by himself. His wife, Emily, had died 3 years earlier after a long illness. Since then, Daniel had learned how to cook simple meals, braid his daughter's hair, help his son with homework, and sit beside his children when they cried at night. He had money. What he did not have was time. That evening, Daniel had driven to a small town to visit a property connected to one of his company's older projects. His 8-year-old son, Noah, sat in the back seat beside his 6-year-old daughter, Lily. They were tired and hungry. "Are we going home soon?" Lily asked. "After one more stop," Daniel said with a tired smile. Then he saw the girl. She was standing outside the house. Daniel slowed the car. The girl looked no older than 11. Beside her stood a woman in an expensive coat. The woman was arguing with her. "I told you, nobody wants you here anymore," the woman snapped. The girl lowered her eyes. "But where will I go? That's not my problem." Daniel stopped the car. Something about the girl's face made him uncomfortable, not because she looked dirty or poor, but because she looked completely defeated. He stepped out. "Is everything all right?" The woman turned toward him. "Perfectly fine." Daniel looked at the girl. "What's your name?" The girl hesitated. "Emma." "Emma, is this woman your mother?" Emma shook her head. "My stepmother." The woman quickly interrupted. "She's been nothing but trouble. Her father died last year. I've tried to take care of her, but I can't afford it anymore." Daniel frowned. "Then why is she standing outside in the rain?" The woman shrugged. "I need her gone." Daniel looked at Emma again. She was shivering. "Where are her things?" The woman pointed toward the plastic bag. "That's all she has." Daniel felt anger rising inside him. He kept his voice calm. "Where are you sending her?" The woman smiled coldly. "Actually, I already found someone." She looked at Daniel. $100. "And she's yours." For a moment, Daniel thought he had heard her wrong. "What? $100? You wanted to know her situation. You can take her with you." Daniel stared at the woman. No child should ever be spoken about like an old piece of furniture. He looked at Emma. Her face had gone paler. She clearly understood what was happening. Daniel's first thought was to call the police, but before he could reach for his phone, Emma whispered, "Please don't leave me here." Those 5 words stopped him. Daniel looked toward his car. His children were watching through the window. He knew he could not simply take a child with him. There were laws, paperwork, and serious questions that needed answers. But he also knew he could not drive away and leave her standing there. So he made a decision. "Come with me," he said gently. "We'll get you somewhere safe, and then we'll contact the proper people." The stepmother held out her hand. $100. Daniel looked at her with disbelief. Then he handed her the money. Not because he was buying Emma. He did it because he needed to get Emma away from that house immediately. He put Emma in the back seat. Noah moved over. Lily took off her small jacket and placed it around Emma's shoulders. "You can have this," Lily said. Emma stared at her. "Why?" "Because you're cold." Emma's lips trembled. She whispered, "Thank you." Daniel started the car. He had an idea that this frightened little girl would soon become part of his family, and he had no idea that the woman who had thrown her away for $100 was about to regret the decision for the rest of her life. Daniel did not take Emma straight to his mansion. He knew that would frighten her. Instead, he drove to a small family hotel near the town center. He ordered dinner. Emma barely touched her food. Noah watched her carefully. "Do you like pizza?" he asked. Emma nodded. "Then you should eat." "I don't think I can." "What?" Emma looked down. "Because I don't know if I'll still be here tomorrow." The table became silent. Daniel felt those words hit him harder than he expected. He had heard adults complain about money, jobs, relationships, and problems, but this was a child worrying about whether she would have a place to sleep. Daniel leaned forward. "Emma, listen to me. You're safe tonight." She looked at him. "Promise." Daniel paused. He did not want to make a promise he could not legally control, but he answered honestly, "I promise I will not abandon you." That night, Daniel contacted the authorities and began the legal process to protect Emma. He discovered that her father had left behind almost nothing except unpaid bills and a small house. Her stepmother had taken control of everything. Emma I had been sleeping in a storage room. She had been doing housework every day. She often went to school without lunch, and for months, she had been told that she was a burden. Daniel sat alone in the hotel hallway after learning all of this. He covered his face with both hands. His wife had once told him something he had never forgotten. Money can fix a lot of problems, Daniel, but it can never replace someone who chooses to stay. He thought about those words the next morning. Emma woke up early. She quietly folded the blanket. Daniel found her cleaning the room. You don't have to do that. Emma froze. I'm sorry, not in trouble. She looked confused. Then why can't I clean? Because you're a child. Emma stared at him. No one has ever said that to me. Daniel swallowed hard as when children had already begun treating Emma like a sister. Lily showed her where the cereal was. Noah helped her with a math problem. For the first time in a long time, Emma laughed. It was a small laugh, but Daniel noticed it, and somehow, that tiny sound made the entire morning feel different. A few days later, Daniel brought Emma to his home while the legal process continued. The house was large, but Daniel had never cared much about its size. To Emma, it was overwhelming. She stood in the doorway with her little plastic bag. Where should I sleep? Daniel pointed upstairs. There's a room prepared for you. Emma looked at him nervously. Do I have to pay you? Daniel's heart sank. No. Then why are you helping me? Daniel took a breath. Because you needed someone. Emma looked away. I don't know how to be a daughter. Daniel gave a small smile. And I don't know how to be a perfect father. She looked back at him. Then what do? We learn. For a while, things improved, but healing was not simple. Emma had nightmares. She hid food in her room. She became frightened whenever someone raised their voice. One evening, Daniel found 3 apples hidden under her pillow. He sat beside her. Emma, why are you hiding food? She began to cry. I thought you might change your mind. Daniel's chest tightened. You thought I would take your food away? She nodded. I used to save things because sometimes there wasn't anything to eat. Daniel hugged her carefully. You don't have to save food anymore. Emma cried against his shoulder. I don't want to go back. You won't. But then the situation became more difficult. Emma's stepmother challenged a temporary custody arrangement. She claimed Daniel had manipulated the situation, even told people that he had paid $100 to take Emma. The story spread. Then, someone discovered Daniel's identity. Suddenly, the story changed. Daniel Carter, the billionaire CEO, had bought a little girl. The headlines were, Cruel. Daniel's company received questions from reporters. His lawyers told him to protect his reputation. One lawyer suggested a simple solution. Send Emma to a private with a boarding facility until this disappears. Daniel stared at him. She's a child, not a public relations problem. The lawyer lowered his eyes. That evening, Daniel came home exhausted. He found Emma sitting on the stairs. She had heard everything. Are you going to send me away? Daniel sat beside her. No, but people are angry. They don't know you. They'll make you lose your company. Daniel smiled. Sadly, companies can be rebuilt. Emma looked at him. What about your children? Daniel glanced toward Noah and Lily, who was sleeping upstairs. They already love you. Emma started crying. Daniel pulled her close. Then, for the first time, Emma said something that broke his heart. Mr. Carter, can I call you Dad? Daniel could not answer immediately. His eyes filled with tears. He had spent 3 years missing his wife. He had spent those same 3 years trying to be strong for his children, but that single question broke through every wall he had built around himself. He hugged Emma. You can call me whatever feels right, she whispered. Dad. Daniel closed his eyes and held her tighter. But the next morning, a letter arrived from the court. Emma's stepmother was demanding custody, and this time, she had a lawyer. Daniel spent the entire night reading the case documents. Who could have used his money to hire the most powerful lawyers in the country. He could have made one phone call and turned the entire situation into a public battle, but he knew that was not what Emma needed. She needed someone to fight for her, without making her feel like a prize being passed from one adult to another. So Daniel made a different decision. He would tell the truth. Every document was collected. School records, medical records, statements from neighbors. Photographs of Emma's living conditions. Reports showing that she had been neglected. Daniel did not attack her stepmother publicly. He simply presented the facts at the hearing. Emma sat beside a social worker. Daniel sat across the room. The judge asked Emma where she wanted to live. Emma looked at Daniel. Then she looked down. I want to stay with Dad. The room became quiet. Her stepmother stood. She doesn't even know him. Daniel did not respond. He let Emma speak. The judge asked gently, why do you want to stay with him? Emma wiped her eyes. Because he doesn't treat me like I'm something he bought. She paused. He makes sure I eat breakfast. A few people smiled sadly. He waits when I'm scared. Her voice shook. He doesn't get angry when I have nightmares. Looked at Daniel. When I asked if I could call him Dad, he didn't say no. Daniel lowered his head. Tears rolled down his face. The judge eventually granted Daniel permanent custody after reviewing the evidence. Emma was free to stay, but Daniel knew winning the case was not the real victory. The real victory came 3 months later. It was a normal Saturday morning. No reporters. No lawyers. No courtrooms. Just a family kitchen. Daniel stood at the stove trying to make pancakes. Noah was complaining that they were burning. Lily was laughing. Emma was setting the table. Dad. Daniel turned. Yes, you forgot the syrup. He smiled. How could I forget the syrup? Emma laughed. And Daniel suddenly realized something. The richest part of his life had nothing to do with his company. It was this kitchen. These children. This noise. This ordinary morning. Later that afternoon, Daniel drove Emma back to the town where everything had started. They stopped outside the old house. The place looked smaller now. Emma stared through the window. Do you want to go inside? Daniel asked. She shook her head. No, are you sure? Emma nodded. I don't need anything from there anymore. Daniel smiled. What do you need? Emma looked at him. My family. Daniel reached across the car and held her hand. You have one? Emma smiled. I know. They drove home before sunset that evening. Daniel found an old photograph of his wife on his desk. He looked at it and whispered, I hope I'm doing this right. Then he heard footsteps. Emma stood in the doorway. Dad. Daniel turned. Yes, can I sit with you? He opened his arms. She walked over and hugged him. Daniel held her close. For years, he had believed that being a father meant protecting his children from every painful thing in the world. But Emma taught him something different. Sometimes, being a father simply means staying when a child is scared, staying when life becomes difficult, staying when the world misunderstands, and staying long enough for a child to finally believe they are worth loving. Emma had been treated as if $100 was enough to determine her value. Daniel showed her the truth. A child's worth can never be measured by money. Not $100. Not $1 million. Not even all the wealth in the world, because some things are priceless. And sometimes, the family you never planned for becomes the family your heart needed all along.